the YouTube link because you're going to do the live stream. And then, of course, you will have your own copy. All right. So I want you to look at these two parking lots and to just think about parking lot problems. And that is actually what I want to frame it as, the parking lot problems. I don't know whether you've ever parked. Okay, sometimes when you park, we only notice our slot, in terms of where I am parked. But then there's a whole aerial view of how many people are parked there. And you can imagine even in Nairobi, they usually have parking meters in a way they know how many people parked in Nairobi at any particular day, per week, per year, like how many cars have gone through, for example, the cities we live in, whether it's Nairobi, Webuye, or any other part we are joining in from. And so when you think about parking lot problems, first of all, when you look at these cars, all of them almost look the same, It's easy to feel like, all of us are in the same situation. And one of the things about just parking in pain, it's easy to normalize because I'm always in environments where pain is normalized, I'm in those webinar groups with other moms and, with other ladies and with other employees, we even make memes out of our pain. It's just like we normalize and you're like, at least I'm not alone. Like it gives us that false comfort. And of course, it's always possible that there are cars that look like yours. Can you see like the first photos, second photos? Most cars look the same in terms of it's possible to actually feel like all cars are white, or all cars are black, all cars are red. It's easy to generalize where we come to a place of normalizing. And then, of course, also generalizing in terms of even grouping and just having this group identity in terms of it's normal to be this way, it's normal to be here. And then the other thing about parking lot, which I was actually reflecting on, it has really hit me hard this week. It's the reality that when you're in a parking lot, even if you are stuck, people assume you're okay. When you're in a parking lot and you're stuck, people assume you're okay. And why? Because that is what everyone does. We park. But you see, if your car is stalling on the roadside, umekwama, they will call a breakdown. For example, if you're a lady, your bonnet is open, you're on the roadside, everybody's like, are you okay? Do you need some help? People will be offering help because you are on the road. But when you're in the parking lot, everybody assumes you're fine, And you can see sometimes how many people are parked. Look at the first photo, look at the second photo. Can you imagine if these cars were never drove again? People will pass by them, People will just be like, oh, yeah, nice parking lot. Hey, seems like there are a lot of people in town. But are these people really, really, really okay? And so tonight, as we have this conversation of don't park in that pain, it's you just being able to see where you're parking in all these parking spots. Which will be your favorite one? Do you love the edge? Do you love being in the middle of it? Do you love probably the center spots or do you love the edge spots? Because all of us are parking every day. And you see the problem with parking, it's the fact that until you unpack, nothing else happens. There's nothing else that is going on in your life. And I usually think about life as I am also carrying other destinies. So for example, in this parking lot, I have my kids in the car for those of us who are moms. Maybe you have your siblings. Maybe you have people you are mentoring. What happens? All of them are packed with you. And so it's possible to actually go through life in a parking lot. And you look like you're okay, everything was normal, but actually you were stuck the whole time. And so even as we are having this conversation of don't park in that pain, it's time to unpack. Just want you to feel so much compassion that is in the room tonight. This is not a place of judgment or a place of, beating your head down in terms of how can you do this? How can you be going through that? And the way we think you have it together. It's possible. Everybody who has it together, sometimes the bottom comes off. And it's still okay not to have it together. The only problem is when I park for too long. Because you think even about cars, for example, you can travel and you leave your car behind. Every now and then it needs to be started and probably taken for a few laps to keep it in good condition. You can't just park and never attend to it. Because even something that was functional will die in the parking lot. And so I just want you to think about your life from this analogy of the cars and the parking spaces. and the people who are parking around you, the way you'll even have conversations and you normalize it. I don't know whether you see this parking lot that has nice trees. Can you see there's actually a place where there are like five, that is the one, two, three, the third row. There are like five white cars together. You know, when I look this side and this side, I'm like, seems like all women go through these issues. Seems like all leaders, all professionals, all stay-at-home moms go through this problem. And it's just because when I look around my window, I look in front of me. I don't know whether you see some of those cars in front, like on the other side of the parking lot, adjacent, like on the sides, in front and behind, they are all white cars. And it's possible to start narrowing down my perspective in life and to normalize things and to accept less than what God had planned for me because I normalized it and I settled in it. And of course, that is the conversation we have tonight. And then, of course, we go a bit practical in terms of unearthing and digging deep from next week. This is a very nice movie that I came across. Was it last month? The Lady in the Van. It's a very nice story of this lady. I probably just wanted to share a neat summary of it. So this lady is called Miss Mary Shepherd, and she's living her former pupil. So she was, first of all, a pupil of a very popular pianist called Fred Cotot. So she had been playing in concerts, like she was this celebrated and popular person. Okay, have a word in there. Okay. Yeah, Jim was here to pick something. Started falling apart. All right. So I was talking about Miss Mary Shepherd. And of course, she was initially she was this popular person in her life. And then life happened. Okay, let me just start from the middle, probably to move a bit faster instead of telling you the whole story plot. But I want you to go and watch this movie if you can. It's called The Lady in the Van. So this lady, you see that van that is behind her, the yellow van. She lived in that van. She had painted it herself, you know. And so what happened initially, she would just be driving around like aimlessly. She didn't have any place she was really going to. She was actually like running away. She was like someone who is a fugitive. And so she will park on the streets, and then kidogo Kanjo will come. They're like, no, you can't park here. You're not allowed to stay here, with your RV. And of course, she was wearing dirty clothes. It's like everything in her life was in this van. So sometimes she had dirty clothes. The van was filled with, just a lot of trash. And then there was this guy who came along and felt sorry for her. And so this girl is called Alan Bennett. Yes, and his name in real life is Alex. And so akamhurumia. And then what would happen is that he allowed her to park in his driveway. So it was like, okay, it's okay, I have a parking space, you come and park here. And of course, what that meant is that if she had an address for 3 months, then she will qualify for the allowance from the government, then she will have something to live on. So it's like from their conversations, it felt like, yeah, but they can give you a place where you can park your car for 3 months. And then, you can just come and live on my driveway. Never went to the house, but of course, you will come and check on her. They will have conversations. Can you imagine she was supposed to live there for 3 months? She ended up living there for 15 years, So she actually died where she parked. It's like the rest of her life, she just lived on that parking lot. And then he cared for her as well. Like he used to just feel like she was so grumpy. She was a very unhappy person, but he just cared for her. He will feel like she's so annoying, but there's just something unique about her. So he used to care for her, just check on her, but they were not close, like in terms of they were too close. So one day she really got sick. And then, of course, it's like he started researching on relatives that could be probably somewhere, and then traveled all the way to meet the brother in another state. And so, of course, the brother was like, oh, yeah, but by this, first of all, she's not Margaret, she's Mary. So she had even lied about her name. And then the brother was like, by the way, does she still play piano? She used to be a piano virtuoso. She used to play before kings. She had this mentor who is a celebrity in terms of, yeah, she was actually really something. And of course, he was very surprised that Alex didn't even know that Mary, instead of Margaret, played piano. She had been touring like piano. And of course, in this time also of her life when she was younger, there's a time she just loved God and she wanted to serve God a bit better. So she went into a convent. She decided to be a nun. And of course, when she went to become the nun, there was this mother superior who was very strict. And one day they caught her playing piano. Remember, she's very good in piano. And they were like, oh, God wants you to give up that piano, as a sacrifice to him, just, to love God, you need to give up the piano. And of course she did. There were so many rules and regulations in that convent. And then with time, it's like she just kept on blowing it up, Maybe she was also in the wrong place, but she just kept on breaking rules. So finally, she was expelled. And then when she was expelled, that is when now she was on this van that she had bought. And then she hit someone on the road. And then now she started running. And of course, just coming to this place of God wants her to give up something she loves. Just want to say something. Don't let religion, and of course, probably the people who are also leading us spiritually, to steal and kill the good in us, in terms of God gave us all these amazing gifts, amazing abilities that we have. And sometimes, actually, the place of faith can also be the place of pain for some of us, Actually, there's a research that was done in 2018 that 75% of people who've gone through spiritual abuse are women, especially in Africa. And when you think about her, God had given her the amazing gift of music. Music was her life. And that is why she was crushed when she couldn't even do what she loved the most. And of course, everything else that they wanted her to do didn't fit in her profile. Too many rules and regulations and straight and narrow path. She kept on getting into trouble. Then she was kicked out. And of course, what that did, it crushed her. There's just something that switched off in her mentally, and her brother committed her to an institution. So she was actually committed to a mental health institution. And then she escaped. And then that is when she started living in the van, driving to different parts of the country. And then one day she hit this guy and killed him, And of course, she was more scared. So she started running. The police were looking for her. You can imagine she was always living her life watching over her shoulders. With a burden of failure, she's feeling so much shame. She's feeling like I've disappointed God. She's guilty of murdering someone. That is how her life was every day, And then eventually, when she died, so eventually when the story is coming to an end and now she's dead as well, the first person she meets is actually the guy she killed. So she meets him in heaven. And then he told her, but it was not your fault, It was actually my oversight. I don't know whether he said it was my oversight or it was even me trying to commit suicide, but it was like it was not your fault. I mean, something that you lived with, the burden on your conscience and just feeling so much shame and guilt, it was not your fault. But she had spent a long, miserable life misunderstanding what she could have been and she could have had in God, who she could have been in God and what she would have had in God. There were so many voices crowding her, like there were voices that were not true, crowding her mind, And I just feel like tonight, probably some of us in different spaces of our lives, maybe this is relatable. When you think about her, she parked and she died in that parking lot in her van. She died where she parked. And I think just this statement of she died where she parked, when I watched this movie, really hit me hard. It's possible, to be moving around, but you're parked. For her, it's like she packed her life, she packed her passion, she packed her dreams, she packed her future. It's like light went off in her. She was just existing, but she was not living. And there's something about life. We can't always avoid the pain. We can't avoid the pain we've gone through. You can't avoid the childhood trauma, the abuse, probably the disappointments we've gone through in life. We may not avoid it, but you can choose not to let it ruin the rest of your life because there's still a whole lot of the rest of your life ahead of you. And so you can't avoid the pain that will come to us. We can't avoid the offense. We can't avoid the betrayal and everything that we've gone through, but you can choose that I will not let this ruin the rest of my life. And so just asking you tonight, are you still parking at the point of your pain? Probably you've gone through abuse, you've gone through rejection, and we are still parked there. Sibling rivalry, heartbreaks, We've been fired and just leaving from workplaces. We've been betrayed. We've been sidetracked by life. We've gone through so much pain and disappointments. And then you decided, let me just park, And it's possible to just feel like things are so bad. Life has thrown me under the bus. Every now and then we will get thrown under the bus. probably for the rest of our lives, there will always be those scenes in our lives where we are thrown under the bus. But you know what? You can decide. It doesn't matter what life does to me. I will get on the bus and drive it. You know, like I'll get on the damn bus and drive it because I want to be everything that God wants me to be and to also fulfill everything that God has planned for me. And so that is my prayer for you and for myself, even as we start this conversation tonight.
Are you there? We lost you.
Oh, wow. I have been muted and I'm here saying how we should. How we should. I was
Sorry.
saying, so where was I? What is the last thing I said, Gladys? Maybe you can help me recap.
Uh,
Talking to myself over here.
maybe a lady can help. Where did you ladies stop hearing, Pops?
Where did we stop? I've really been talking to myself over here.
Sorry.
Getting to be where God wants you to be. That's what I heard last.
Right, all right. Okay. Yeah. And so I was saying I hope this story of the lady in the van is something relatable to us in terms of we will not die where we parked. Because tonight, by having this conversation and having another retreat next week and having the physical retreat next weekend, you will actually find the courage to drive forward. You know, one of the things I envision that will be happening as a result of us journeying together through these three events, it's for you to find courage and strength and insight and even just clarity on driving forward. And it's because all of us in different seasons of our lives, we may be packed. And I don't know whether you heard this statement. It's very, very important part of probably the conversation in terms of I just said this. I hope you heard it as part of it. In terms of you can't always avoid pain, but you can choose to not let it ruin the rest of your life. You know, we may not avoid pain. You know, actually offenses will come, pain will come, disappointments will come, betrayal will come, but it's possible for you to choose not to let it ruin the rest of your life. And I was just saying that, yeah, some of us have gone through abuse, we've gone through rejection, we've gone through sibling rivalries that were probably even incapacitating. We are still recovering from them. Some of us have gone through abandonment, heartbreaks, we've gone through injustice, we've gone through, just traumatic things. But it's possible for you to still decide I will not continue packing because there's so much more that my life is about than just being stuck in this one part of my life. And so I was saying, like, as we're journeying together, it's trusting God to help each one of us start revving the engines of our lives and reverse out of that parking lot and just keep that momentum of as fast as possible get to the destinies that God has destined for us. Because it's time to say goodbye parking lots and hello to road trips and all those places that we need to go to. Because some of us have such a great destiny. But as long as we are parking there, then it means that we will always be stuck there. And so many other people are stuck with us. So I want us to think about our tombstone one-liners. Tombstone, yeah, one-liners. And when you think about this picture, it's a tombstone that is blank, nothing is written on it. And all of us are actually blank tombstones, in introspection, in terms of nothing is written about the summary of my life because I'm still living it. But if your life ended today and someone was brutally honest to summarize your life in one line, what will they say about you? You know, you can imagine whenever we are having tombstones designed, people always write so many nice things. Sometimes even someone who was probably such a crook, they lived such a wicked life, we put a memory verse here. The Lord gave and the Lord took away. Blessed be his holy name. And there's nothing wrong with that. But if today there was a brutally honest statement that will be written on your tombstone, what will be said about you? Just one statement, you know? If there was one statement that will be said about you, what would it be? I want you to just think about it, and I want us to reflect together. Just think about your life and how you're living right now. Your fears, your worries. If someone could see through you and they said, they were brutally honest about what's going on in your life, what is the one statement they will say about you? How will they summarize your life and everything that you are? If your life ended today, what will be the brutally honest one-liner? Like one thing that people will just say if they were allowed to speak up their mind. No filters and no niceties in terms of, yeah, she was a nice person. It's really sad to lose her. Can you imagine there's some people who even in funerals, they give statements and they read speeches of people that they don't believe in, Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can see us sharing here. What will people say about you? So these are some of the tombstones that I came across when I was just doing this part of one-liners. And so these are tombstones that were written about people. And so there's one person who the statements they will get is, she never took a vacation, especially for those of us who work in companies and businesses where we can cash out. If I don't go for vacation, I'll make more money. So I'm like, oh, that's a good trade-off. I can't go anywhere. Let me just stay on and make more money. What else will be said about you? Thank you, Mima. Mima, I can see you said they will say you are strong. Yes, we celebrate you. And let's love on each other's statement. Whenever someone shares something in the confidence meetings, we always celebrate. And of course, we always applaud. We give hugs as well. If someone says something that you're feeling like, hugs. Yeah. I think there's Rose. Rose has said she's alone. And so we'll just also just hold space for you for that. I love that we are honest about it. Let me just give you a hug on that one. Let's keep on sending our reactions on each other's statement. We just want to love on each other and to just be there to affirm and encourage each other. I can see hugs on my emojis. So which other one is closer? Yeah, I can see someone has shared just that. So yeah, it breaks my heart to hear you feeling like alone, and it's fine. Yeah, we just want to love on each other, regardless of our statement. Let me just give you this strong one of you. Whether you're a loner, but sometimes you are hanging on there. And then Beryl says, I have gone through a lot and kept going, never losing hope. Wow, she never lost hope. Probably that will be one way to just summarize the tombstone message. We really celebrate you for being someone who sticks with it. And then she was a strong lady, very intentional. Rachel, we also celebrate that about you. Such a beautiful strength as well. And some of us, actually, each one of us, there will be strengths and weaknesses that will be attributed to us. So this one is never took a vacation. Let me keep going as the rest of us share. Please share what you think will be put on your tombstone. Yeah, ideally, probably some of us would not have a tombstone and it's still fine. I mean, I usually think I'll be dead. It won't matter. But then if someone was brutally honest about you, there's someone who said spent his life chasing money. Like that is what they will summarize life in terms of he or she was all about money. They didn't live for anything else. Yeah, good statement. Probably the money will be the glory of the funeral and the networks that will come there. But then now that is all that his life was about. What else will be said about you? Had perfect abs. This is definitely someone who was, working out. They were in the gym 24/7. So probably she had perfect abs. She had all the good curves. So probably those also will be some of us are very pretty in terms of just, just have meet in the right places, the right curves. We just look so proportional and we really bless God for you if that is your look right now. And then some of us probably this will definitely not be anywhere near our tombstones and it's still fine. Yeah, so had perfect ab. What else? Yeah, let's keep sharing. I can see Mwende saying, okay, Hilda, Wairimo, I had read yours. She was a strong lady, very intentional. We celebrate you. And then Hilda, talkative, sensitive, and a lover of education. Yeah, Hilda, even the education will really go down. How you've been telling them, I have a class, I have something else and something else. I have this seminar and this thing and conference I'm going to. We celebrate your hunger for knowledge. And then Mwende, she was hardworking. We celebrate you, Mwende. Of course, the beloved. I just love Mwende, how it's related to love. Gladys, she loved. Hey, you too. She loved. We celebrate that about you as well, Gladys. Yeah, like you'll just be voted in for your love. And then Margaret, she was friendly, she was strong, she was controlling, she was too much, she worked hard. Hey, Margaret, you're a cocktail of many good things. We celebrate that as well. Diana, she was Mama Boys. Hey, Mama Boys. And then everybody will just get it. Seems like something you're very proud of. We celebrate you. Hazel saying she was kind but firm. Oh, we celebrate you as well. This is such a balanced strength. Kind but firm. Tough girl, but at the same time, very loving. We celebrate you. Look at all these responses, You already have our messages on. Apparently, I have this friend who is a death doula. She actually helps people. Let me just say it how she puts it. I help people to die well. I help people to die well. And death doulas are actually popular in the US and in Europe. When you feel like I've come to the end of my life, it's been real, it's been great. That was a good ride. Then you get a death doula to help you plan your death. And so what will happen? She was showing me a contract of her client, like just one of them, where you choose the flowers you want on your funeral, you choose the songs, you choose the 6 pallbearers who will carry your coffin. Sometimes apparently people are carried by the people who hated them the most. But because nobody knows it, then they are just there crying crocodile tears. So for her, she was like, you choose all those things. You even choose who should be informed first when you die, which is the first phone call and everything. But one of the things that was really amazing to me about the death doula conversation, it's the fact that in all this time, you're helping someone to just also debrief on whether their life was worth it. Are there conversations they need to have? Are there people they need to tie neat ends with in terms of conflicts, in terms of, offensive, like to just help them, zone into that space. And the amazing thing now, this is a testimony from other doulas from other parts of the world. They will say that sometimes when people hire death doulas and they process their life well, it's like some of them will even recover, they will heal, they will overcome that depression and that despair that is leading them to feel like they're coming to the end of their lives, And of course, when you think about even this part of the tombstone messages and everything, these are things that people will actually choose in such, there's actually a whole form that you fill in. There's a whole contract, that you sign up for. But when you think about it, it's just that about of, is my life well put in order? Even as I think about today, my tombstone message and my one-liner. And I remember me also thinking about mine when I was turning, I was turning 39, that is 2 years ago. I remember I was in Uganda. I was reading this book on finishing strong by a guy called Steve Farrar. And it's really, really a kind of a book that helps you just think about the end of your life. Instead of just living right now as if I'm here forever, I start thinking a bit deeper in terms of how I am doing. Oh, and then this other one is a funny one. Owned every iPhone, still died. This is someone who is probably chasing trends, and whenever a new iPhone is in the market, they are down with it. And they are welcome to my channel. They are the ones who do the unboxing. If they are influencers, they're always unboxing the latest devices. And so owned every iPhone but still died. And then this one is also an influencer, had 26,000 followers, had 26K followers on Instagram, so that will be the only thing, because maybe this was their obsession. They were always looking at how they can get it to 30, the way they usually say hashtag journey to 100,000, hashtag journey to 50K. That is probably what they lived for. And then drove a nice car. You can even see the way the tombstone is shaped on that thing that is usually on top of cars. You remember the old taxis had this one, and some of them still have, that symbol on top of the car. Drove a nice car. And then I just thought these ones were a bit deeper. Didn't spend enough time with his family, And of course, we're thinking about what if someone was brutally honest on your tombstone. Even as you think about, I have packed in pain. If this was the last day of my life, what will people say about me? What will be the neat summary of my life, how I was and how I am and how I checked out? Didn't spend enough time with his family. So sad. And actually, they have these cultures of sad people that probably he prioritized everything else apart from them. This one was also sad. Worked overtime for a boss who didn't remember his name. Can you imagine? Like I was always in the office day, night. And then every time they'll be like, what's your name? What's your name? Yeah. You worked overtime. I remember one of my relatives just talking about how their husband, they were a very lovely couple. They've really inspired our marriage. They're actually my husband's relative, coming to think of it. And he was saying how, yeah, we have a good life, we have everything good, but I feel like my husband traded his job for his health. And that is how we've ended up being downhill the entire time since he retired. In terms of the demands of work, he was always overworking, he was always working day and night, And then one day, he's just not here. Passed away last year. It was a very, very, very sad kind of a situation. But of course, also God had really given him, just this amazing life. And he was really an amazing person. But just that part of boundaries. And then this is also another one that will be hard. We are talking about brutally honest tombstones that will be put on us. If probably today we died and someone was brutally honest about how we were. Someone who took love for granted. It was never enough. Maybe I was always demanding. I was never grateful. I was never appreciative. That will still feature there. And then I thought this one was also very, very touching. Wished she had followed her dreams. People who are close to me, maybe they hear my regrets. They just hear how the life I'm living is not the life I would have wanted. And then on my tombstone, it's she wished she had followed her dreams. And imagine the life of dying and I never unpacked. And tonight, as we're having this conversation on unpacking, unpacking, and of course, also don't pack in that pain, meaning that we are willing to unpack. That is why we've showed up for ourselves. It's choosing for me to just feel like I am on the driver's seat of my life. I want to choose to live a life of my choice. I want to take full responsibility over the rest of my life and to just choose that I want to choose how the story will end. And I want it to end in a place of abundance. So this is the reality check that I want us to do in terms of current.
Oops, you're lost again.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're back now.
Awesome. Thank you, Gladys. So I want us to do this part of reality check, and these are the two things I want us to reflect on. I want you to think about your current one line. If today something was written brutally honest about you, just think about the people who are closest to you. They know everything about you. They know your fears, they know your insecurities, they know your struggles. What will they say about you? In terms of a brutally honest one-liner, in terms of something you're struggling with, a place where you've packed in pain, a place where you have normalized and you have accepted probably less than life in abundance, less than what you know you deserve in life. And then I want you to also write another statement on the flip side of future one-liner in terms of this is what I want to be said about me. And I don't know, as we were sharing, probably you said something you would want said about you. And maybe some of us are also writing the reality in terms of this is what people are saying about me right now. Or this is what people who are closest to me, and especially people who know my struggles, this is what they will say about me. So write your current one-liner in terms of she's afraid to take risks. She's living in a lot of bitterness. She's holding on to too much pain. She doesn't let go easily. Just think about some of the feedback we've received from people who are closest to us, people who are near and dear. What will they say about you? If they were going to write on this placard, someone who is very honest and they totally know you well. I don't know whether you receive a lot of feedback in your life. Maybe some of us also don't know what people will say about us because we live in so much fear because we don't even know what people think or what they say. But I just want you to probably frame it from a place of this is actually some of the deepest truths about me, my current one-liner. And then on the other hand, flip page and write about your future one-liner. Future one-liner in terms of what will be said about me in future. And so for me, you remember I was sharing my story about perhaps at 39, which was 2 years ago. I was in Busoga Kingdom in the deep of Uganda. on the western side of Uganda. And I remember my closing line was, she finished well. That is what I said I would love to have on my tombstone. She finished well. She finished well. And then I also wrote another one of, she was accountable. Those are two things I would really want my life to be about. And of course, during that time, there are things I was struggling with, really journaled about it. I usually feel like during my birthdays, I probably go all in because most of the times I take retreats. Even this one, I was in Malindi for a work engagement, but it was really a chilled one that allowed me to also do a bit of introspection. It was really good to just check myself in terms of how am I really, really doing. Just have that reality check and brutal honesty about where you are and where you need to be. And one of the things that this Don't Pack in That Pain retreat will do to you is to help you to be brutally honest about yourself. You know, here, one of the things that we normally do, I don't know whether all of us have had, the opportunity to go through coaching programs, but in coaching programs, you are the one who play, I cheer you on, but also there are a lot of tools that will help you process this. When you shall be having the retreat next week, we shall be having journaling sessions here together, and then you shall also have a workbook to just keep on digging a bit deeper on your own life and do a lot of reflections. And of course, to dig deeper in terms of different places and scenarios where we could be stuck. And also what it's costing you and how it's reflecting in terms of your body, in terms of your motivation in life. We shall be going all in, to just check ourselves out. Oh, Rachel is so sweet. She's actually written hers. She's said my current, like in terms of her current one-liner, she's ambitious, she gives a lot and forgets herself. And then her future one, she trusted in God fully and truly. She nurtured her children well. She was a good teacher. Rachel, this one deserves love, love, love. Let's give Rachel some reactions and some love emojis on this. Oh, and Miriam, I saw yours as well in terms of she loved her girls. Wow. Yeah, that will also be a powerful one. What will be said about you? And you may not share. It's still fine if you don't want to share. Probably some of us, this is a reality check that is bringing in ugly realities. And I usually say in every coaching session, you may feel very uncomfortable being here because sometimes when you go to a hospital, they usually rip off that bandage and clean that wound afresh. And of course, sometimes it's very painful. And so I'm also holding space for you if tonight being here is a bit difficult, a bit uncomfortable, a bit unsettling in terms of you just feel like this is very intrusive. It's okay. I will just encourage you, hang in here. And then, of course, sign up. I'll be giving you details on how you can sign up now for the place of being able to process and move this forward because it's a whole conversation and you need to get all your feet in, get wet, get off the shores and come to the deep end so that you can allow God to fully, fully heal you and restore you. And so I'm hoping that we will be taking the journey next week. And of course, next weekend, for those of us who are able to come to Nairobi, because that is why we shall be having the physical retreat. And of course, I have amazing ladies who are my friends. They live in the UK, some of them in the US. There's also one, and the South African one is a bit accessible. But then also some of us who live in other counties, and they were like, why can't we have a virtual, proper retreat? And I was like, there's some things that you can only experience in person, especially the fact that we shall be walking on the grass barefooted. I mean, there are just some things that we'll be doing that you can't simulate on a virtual session. So the retreat on 2nd August will be in person that Saturday, first Saturday of August. And I would really encourage us to probably, not to probably, but to definitely consider joining in both events. Next Wednesday, when we shall be having the reflection and the journaling together here, we shall be here for 2 hours, just digging deep and getting to the bottom of it. And there are people who are also asking, is this retreat like, is it, if I come to this one, which one should I come to? Perhaps give me some advice. Do I come for the virtual one or the physical one? I'm like, please come for both because both of them have totally different flavors. Whatever we shall do next week is complete in itself, and whatever we shall do on 2nd August is complete in itself. So you can't say that when I come for the physical one, I shall find the benefit of what we did virtual, because remember, we shall be here for 2 hours processing things. And then, of course, during the week, reflecting on them before we go for the retreat, which will be like three days away. And so I'll encourage you, please consider joining both because all those retreats are standalones. They have different values and different flavors, different conversations and different reflections as well. It's only that The physical one will be more experiential in terms of doing things, having rituals. We will get into small groups and have conversations. We will also have a lot of symbols, in terms of telling our packing stories. So it will be totally different from what will happen next week. But next week, also unique in its own way. So just plan to join for both. That is my good advice for anyone else who may be wondering about that. All right, so we keep going. I want to read this story on Genesis 11 about Terah's family tree. You remember Terah is still a descendant down, 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 down from all the previous generations. And of course, this Genesis 11 starts with the generations, in terms of from Adam going on and on. And then when it comes to Terah, he talks about Terah as the father of Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran fathered Lot. While Terah was still alive, Haran died in the same land he was born. I want you to note the places that I have boldened because there's a bit of a message in there to unpack. So Terah died in Ur, the land of the Chaldeans. However, Abraham and Nahor lived on and married. Abraham's wife was named Sarai. Nahor's wife was named Milcah, but Milcah was the daughter of Haran, who fathered both Milcah and Iscah, yes. But Sarai could not conceive and didn't have a child. And then what happened in verse 31? Terah took his son Abraham and grandson Lot, that is Haran's son, and daughter-in-law Sarai, who is Abraham's wife. They left Ur of the Chaldeans together and traveled in the direction of the land of Canaan. So that was actually the ultimate destination. When they arrived in Haran, they settled there. Terah was 2 or 5 years at that time, and he ended up dying in Haran. This story is really, really, really loaded in terms of how our packing in pain will actually affect generations that will have gotten to their destiny soon, and they end up delaying as well. And so when you look at this story, I remember when we had our retreat the end of last year, and then Reverend Edeline was here. She's the founder of CWW, long conversation on that. But she unpacked this story in a way I had never seen it. So when you see verse 28, Terah was still alive. Haran died in the same land. And then when they are traveling, they actually come across a place called Haran, So the Bible says when they left the Ur of Chaldeans, now that is 31 together, they traveled in the direction of Canaan. When they arrived in Haran, they settled. It was like a trauma trigger of, oh, my son was called Haran. Seems like if I stay here, the comfort of just feeling like I am with him because I lost him. I can't go beyond here. But when they were leaving Ur of Chaldeans, their direction was to Canaan. And so there's that tendency to think, what if it was actually Terah? Was going to be the father of nations, all the promises that went on in Abraham's life, and he's now changed his name, is Abraham, the father of faith, Father Abraham. What if all those things were supposed to be Terah's? And actually there's a definition of Terah. Terah means delay. Terah. His name meant delay. So he has fathered these children, and then he has lost Haran, who was the son. And then you can see how the dynamic between Lot and Abraham will be complicated. They will part ways. Lot will end up in so much drama as well in terms of losing his father, not being fathered well, and of course probably not journeying with Abraham well enough in terms of submission. And both of them got rich, because by just hanging around Abraham, he also became a great man in himself. And then he's the one who would move to Sodom, and then later he will be sodomized by his daughters, because they will later get him drunk, sleep with him, and then, of course, get babies. And those babies were rejected in terms of now when you look at the lineage and historically how much the Edomites and, just how much there was so much drama around their lives. No, they're not the Edomites, but there were 2 tribes that came from these 2 girls. And so when you look at this story, you just think, what if Terah was able to still push through and get to Canaan? What if he was the father of faith? But then what happened to him when he got to Haran? And then he remembered his son Haran. And he was like, I can't move on from here. They settled there. And where he settled, he died. Terah was 2 or 5 years old, and at that time, and he ended up dying in Haran. So he never left there. And of course, after he's dead, now Abraham has to pick it up, continue journeying on. And of course, the story of Nahor is not shared so interestingly from there. We probably don't hear much of him. Abraham becomes the next trailblazer. But you can imagine how it would have been easier for Abraham and probably for Nahor, and even maybe for Lot if they stuck together. and go to the place where God had called them. Because now God had to speak to Abraham again and tell him, oh, come to the land where I'll show you. And then he leaves again. And so just want you to think about your battles in terms of what you're going through right now. And maybe you have packed. And then there are these other people who are in your car like Terah. And so you can see it's even listing the people in his car. Terah took his son Abraham, grandson Lot, daughter-in-law Sarah. Probably left Nahor and Milcah, left them behind, and Iscah. But then he was like, why did he carry them? Why did he leave the others? What was his story? What was his pain? What was his darkness? But just like the lady in the van, there's still that reality check of where he parked, he died. And then what will happen? There will be a whole delay on the next generation because of his parking. I want us to take some time to journal a bit. Some time to just journal a bit. Let me first of all just check on us. I can see we are blazing on the charts. Gladys is saying current, unable to let go. That is what will be written right now. So we're just coming back here. Let me come back here. Am I going back or going forward? Yeah, this is the current one-liner and the future one-liner. So Gladys is saying current will be she's unable to let go. That will be her reality right now. And then her future one, she died empty. That is powerful, Gladys. Yeah, much as she's struggling right now to let go, but her future one will be that part of she died empty. So it means that she let go and she totally lived. She showed up. That is a powerful one. And then burial, current, keeps trying again and again. We celebrate that. And future, her sacrifices bore great fruit. So, yeah, so her resilience and her staying on the fight ended up somewhere. Dube, I can see your future, no current one. She lived fully. Yeah, and of course, she was fully alive. That is also a powerful one. And then Terra, of course, is saying Terra means delay. That is Gladys. Yeah, Terra means delay. And you can imagine when you think about your current one-liner, it's you being brutally honest about this is what would be written to my tombstone in my current state. She had too much fear. She never let go of the past. She never forgave the current one-liner. And then you choose the future one-liner in terms of this is how I want the story to end. I don't know how I'll get here. You know, it's the way sometimes we usually have the reality check of this is my current weight and then this is my future weight. You know, the roadmap is not clear, but it's just that part of I am willing to keep on visualizing this and to keep on striving and aspiring towards this. And there's this statement that is also very powerful, and I want us to just take note of it. When you settle, there's something in you that starts to die. And even from the story we've read right now, the reflection on Terra, you will see that some of us have given up on our dreams. Let me just ask you, what did you want to become when you were 5 and there was fire in your belly? And you were this ambitious, unstoppable little girl. What did you want? Who did you want to become? Where did you want to live? What emotions were you hoping you will feel when you grow up? Some of us looked forward to freedom. You're hoping I'll be free. And then one day, you settled and something started to die in you. You gave up on your dreams. You gave up on your future. You gave up on your ideal self. You gave up on your ambitions. Something just died. It's like a flame went out and then we just start existing. And you remember the story of Miss Shepherd, the lady in the van. The music died. Her passion for God died. Everything. And then she just started driving around aimlessly. And of course, when she settled, something started dying in her. And she actually died. After parking in that driveway of Mr. Alan Bennett she was supposed to be there for 3 months. She ended up being there for 15 years. No? And she died in that parking lot inside her van. Place of limitations. For someone who was an international, it means she was a music virtuoso. She will play these keys that will just, vibrate with so much excellence. When you settle, something in you starts to die. And I just want you to think about yourself in places you've settled. Some of us have settled emotionally in relationships. Some of us have even settled in terms of our ambitions and dreams. You don't dream anymore. It's like nowadays you are on autopilot. You just wake up, shower, go to work, come back, sleep, tomorrow wake up, shower. It's like you've lost that gusto and that inner desire to live and to really live. When you settle, something in you starts to die. What has been dying in you? And I want us to take some time to journal a bit. And these are the 3 questions I want you to think about. I want you to take your phone, take your notebook, take something, make sure you write something. I usually say coaching doesn't work if you don't do the work. So it's possible to feel, oh, perhaps that was very motivational. No, this is not a motivational speech. This is a coaching session. And as you process things, that is how you're able to make progress emotionally. Most of the times, healing happens inwardly. And it's by pushing those boundaries, by allowing your mind to engage and your emotions to connect. That is how you're able to make progress. And so I want you to just take something and journal, in terms of either you can take your phone and go to the notes section or go to the Google Drive. Just do what's safe for you. Personally, I have a journal app. That is where I normally pour out my heart. Whatever works for you works for me. So let's start with the first one. I hope you're set. What are the specific pains, that you found? Have you found yourself packing in specific pains that you're already packing? So there's some examples there to just trigger you to start thinking about your own space. What specific pains have found you packing yourself? Have you found yourself packing in? So there's specific things that have happened in your life. Maybe it's past hurts, it's disappointment, it's loss, sometimes even grief. There's just something that can go off your soul. Maybe you lost someone who is very dear and near. Current struggles and forgiveness, betrayal, disappointment, heartbreaks. What is it? Specific pains that you found yourself packing in. What are they? Those are like parking lots. I want you to see pictures of parking lots. Some of us have several parking spots reserved for us. That parking slot of reserved. When we shall be coming for the physical retreat, we shall be having all these signages and we shall use them to tell our stories, in terms of different parking instructions, different parking notices. Some of them are funny, some of them are fun, some of them sound so strict. But we can tell stories of our lives. So what specific pains have you found yourself packing in? So you can just write like even 3. Allow yourself to think a bit deeper and harder. Some of us probably it's even church pains in terms of spiritual spaces. Some of us it's physical, maybe it's your health. Just feeling like my health is failing and then I started packing. I stopped being ambitious. I'm just trying to stay alive. Some of us it's probably an incident that happened in your life that was traumatic, that was heartbreaking, and then you packed there. Just go back and allow yourself to look back. Something that happened. We usually call them earthquake events in the emotionally bold woman. Earthquake events that happened, zikatetemesha. There was such a shakeup in your life and then you packed it. It's like you got paralyzed. You still kept on existing. You keep on doing things, We usually call it functional stress or functional trauma. Where you're still able to function. You show up, you do things, you win an award here and there, but you know that you're stuck. You know that you're not doing well. So what are those spaces you've actually found yourself packing in? And you see, just because everybody thinks you're okay doesn't mean you're okay. You are the one who knows if you're okay or not. Just because we are showing up, we got a promotion here and there, it doesn't mean that you're living life in abundance. Some of us, you got married, you live everybody's dream life. You live in that house with picket fence and a dog, a cat, 2.5 children, an amazing husband. There's just how you are, the people who are on social media serving us couple goals. But deep down, you actually know you're not okay. That deep down voice is usually the truth of our lives. And then number 2, what ways have you settled and how are you dying? You remember we've said when you're not settled, there's something that starts dying in you. What does the parking lot look like for you? What is happening that is showing you you're not doing well? What are the manifestations? How are you dying? Some of us nowadays, you have lost your enthusiasm. You have lost joy. You've become so anxious. You're always replaying events. You get re-traumatized when you meet someone who looks like that person in your past, when you smell a perfume, when you see a name, you know. In the emotional healing, we usually call them monuments of pain, things that remind you of pain. In a way, it doesn't matter how much you run away from them, there's always something that will trigger it. A look, a smell, a mention, and then you just feel like I'm replaying it all over again. It's like I've gone back to it and I'm reeling in it again. So what does the parking lot look like for you? Keep on journaling. What ways have you settled? Some of us, probably you stop being ambitious. Nowadays you just exist. Even when people are setting their resolution, you're like, oh, yeah, so much of resolutions. Some of us, we are hiding behind busyness. You are so busy. Some of us are scrolling endlessly. Some of us, we are workaholics. It's like those achievements usually numb the pain for you. But how are you dying? Because those are also indications of what the parking lot looks like for you. Dwelling on negative emotions. Some of us, they're just some emotions you're not able to shake off. There's an anxiety that just paralyzes you. I've met clients who have panic attacks. They have anxiety. They cannot function. They just get some emotional paralysis and they can't do anything. Bitterness, isolation. I just love being on my own. And of course, I keep on saying it's boundaries, it's my space. Solitude, but then that you're just dying with it. And then finally, how does packing in the pain manifest in your daily life? Just think about these areas. How are you showing up? Some of us, even in terms of spiritually, it's possible to go through the emotions of religion, but you actually know you're not experiencing that fullness of God in your life. And in our space of just a spiritually journeying together and the retreats we normally have, it's just that part of helping people think a bit deeper on their relationship with God, where beyond the church, beyond religion, even for our sister here, very dear sister who is Muslim, it's just that part of, how am I doing in terms of for myself? Am I just going through the motions of it, or is God a reality? And then emotionally, how are you doing? How is it manifesting in your life? Lots of anxiety, fear, anger, avoidance. We have a lot of avoidance patterns in our lives where I never deal with anything. I just keep on circling around it. I don't connect with people deeply. I'm always living life on the edge. We always know, I know. Yeah. Yeah, then I'm laughing about 2.5 children. Yeah, 2.5 children. Yeah, that is usually time. But I was actually talking about it from the place of the American dream of a house with picket fence. You remember those white fences around the house? And then 2.5 children, a cat and a dog. Yeah, so I'm seeing a message here. Yeah, I'm still checking on you because, like I said, this conversation is about you. It's not just me ranting and ranting on and on. It's also about you in terms of what you feel and, of course, what's going on even as you process this. Oh, okay, Masidube has edited hers. She took so long forgiving people. Yeah, that is her current and then future. She lived fully. Wow, this is a beautiful one. Let us keep on sending reactions for each other. Like we say, we celebrate every comment and we just want to celebrate your sharing everything. And then Margaret says she carried burdens and successfully moved on. Oh, I love this as well. Yeah, she carried burdens and she successfully moved on. And then one day, currently minding her own business and working hard. And then future attention to details. Absolutely amazing. And then now we're just coming to our and losing my father. This really broke me. Getting married to someone I didn't know very well. Wow, we really, really send our hugs to you. Yeah, this must have been a very, very tough journey for you. And please keep on connecting and joining in. We'd love to journey with you and love on you. Even as probably going through these seasons. I just love it that we are here to journey together. And there's just something powerful, even for Mima, in terms of journeying with other girls, like the way you are here, just sharing vulnerably. This is how we unburden, especially with the distance. I know Mina, you are in Mombasa, and we're so glad you could make time to join in tonight. Just praying that you will feel our hugs and just how much we care for you, even as we are having this conversation tonight. All right, have we managed to journal? I hope we have. And of course, I am sending here. Oh, Rachel is giving us a treat. She's already shared hers. Thank you, Rachel. I really celebrate your vulnerability. But the vulnerability is such a gift. You know, when someone is able to bear out their heart, for you to also be able to reflect as they are sharing their hearts in terms of something practical happening to them, then you're able to mirror back on yourself in terms of, yeah, by the way, me too, me too, me too. That kind of a feeling. And thanks for sharing. And let me just read for us. And of course, I know we are all reading here. So in terms of the pains that she's reflected on, I hope everyone has managed to journal so that you have something to reflect on beyond this conversation. So she's responded to these 3 questions. And she said in terms of her pains, where she has found herself packing in, parent separation and feeling unreciprocated in marriage, outbursts on kids, dad's death, thus often unhappy. And then where she feels like she's settled and she's dying, kind of. Focus on imaginary generational curse, not dressing up and overeating. And then manifestation in daily life, spiritually on a positive. I have learned to trust God, in God more. And then emotionally outbursts, but I'm handling them. And then relationally funny enough, even with the storms, God is giving me godly love, new friends. I am, however, avoiding issues I need to. And then physically adding weight due to overeating as a way of handling pressure and stress. And then sorry for oversharing. Oh no, so Rachel, you're in a safe space. Thank you for actually giving us a treat. No, just you sharing your life. This is such a gift. All of us really. And then sorry for oversharing. So we have said we are apology not accepted because we are so grateful that you've shared. But I choose to believe that I'm work in progress. I choose not to die. I will be fine. Thou shalt not pack. Absolutely, Rachel. Absolutely. We really, really celebrate you. Thank you for sharing so vulnerably. Just allowing, your pain to go out here, but in a powerful way. I just love your parting shot. And then Dube has also shared her church pain. Once went to a pastor for advice. He later wanted me to sleep with me. I again went to him for advice and he never. That was very sad. And of course, it's important for you to understand what that did to you and how it's affecting you. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And of course, also how does packing in pain manifest in our daily life? Also the physical bit. Some of us have psychosomatic conditions where your body feels sick, but you don't have an actual sickness. Just your body doesn't know what to do with all the emotional overloads you're experiencing. And so sometimes it manifests in body aches and everything, and we shall be assessing that next week. So next week we shall be digging a bit deeper in terms of having a checklist on different things that we shall just be processing. Because when you're conscious about those situations, then you stop normalizing them. The way I was talking about parking lots, you stop normalizing your parking lot in terms of everybody's going through this. You are like, no, I should actually go through this, not stay here. I'm supposed to have this as a drive-through. I'm supposed to start moving forward. I'm supposed to be making progress. I can't park here. And I also don't want to be comfortable that everyone around me is parked here. We're not going to the same destination. Some of us have such a great destiny. You have such a great destiny, especially in terms of impact. And sometimes the devil will make you feel comfortable parking, and then you never get to where God was calling you and where he had created you to go. And so as we're talking about don't park in that pain, we are unpacking because there's a whole destiny ahead of us. All right. And so as you're thinking about parking situations, there's also this story in John chapter 5. And I want to just address something called learned helplessness, which is one of the theories we normally use in psychology, in therapy. And of course, this is the story of Jesus going to the pool of Bethesda, and then he's talking to this disabled man. This man had been here for 38 years. Like he had seriously parked. He had even switched off the car. That car had even stones on top of it. Grass was growing on the wheels. It's like it was totally packed. And we don't know his story in terms of how we ended up there. And that is why I was saying those are usually the parking lot problems. There's nobody who knows how you ended up there, but it's easier to look around and to normalize your situation and to feel like, oh, after all, I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone here. The question is, are you really supposed to be there? Are you sure you're supposed to be there? Were you meant to stay there for that long? 38 years, you're a veteran of disability. You just got used to it. Your life adapted around it. And it says that Jesus noticed one particular man who had been living with his disability for 38 years. He knew this man had been waiting here a long time. So he comes and is like, are you here in this place hoping to be healed? This guy had gotten so used to it. He couldn't even say yes. He was like, kind sir, I wait. Like all these people. I mean, we are all here. So this is a parking lot. All of us we got used to being here. For the waters to stir, but I cannot walk. For if I'm to be healed in the water, someone must carry me into the pool without a helping hand. Someone else beats me to the water edge each time it is stirred. And then Jesus said, stand up, carry your mat, and walk. At the moment Jesus uttered these words, a healing energy coursed through the man and returned life to his limbs. He stood and walked for the first time in 38 years. Of course, if he'd not been working for 38 years, he was probably in his 50s or 60s. Just imagine that probably he had a bit of a normal life before. Or probably, of course, there's nothing abnormal about disability, but probably his limbs were working well before. You know? Just think about 38 years. And when you think about learned helplessness, it's just that aspect of it's possible to live in pain so much that you get used to it. It becomes part of your identity. It becomes something you've normalized. You've realized when Jesus like, do you want to be healed? He's like, he has a story. He didn't even say yes. He was actually looking like, well, you don't know how things work around here. That is actually the vibe he has. But what happens is that Jesus doesn't give him what he wants in terms of, oh, don't worry, I'm actually here, I'll throw you in. He actually gave him instructions. And I just feel like some of us, the next 2 weeks, it will be matching orders on what you need to do to get well. Because sometimes we sit down and we hope someone else is who is responsible for our pain. Someone else should do something so that I can get better. Someone else should say something. Someone should apologize. Someone should show up. What if there's nobody who is responsible for it apart from you? Because the moment he was told, rise up, stand up to carry your mat and walk, those words and him moving into action. And that is what we shall be doing next Wednesday and Saturday for those of us who will manage the physical retreat. But even those of us who will come for the virtual retreat, like I said, it's complete by itself next Wednesday. Sign up for it. Come and allow yourself to stand up, carry your mat and walk, and allow the healing energy to course through you. And then you will stand and walk. You will get out of the parking lot. You will reverse and go to the place you've always desired to go and the place that you know you're supposed to go. Because some of us have been here for so long, but you're not supposed to be here. There is also someone else who decided to unpack Jabez in 1 Chronicles 4. It's verse 7, 9, 8, 10. No, 7. Yeah, from 7. And you can imagine when you go to 1 Chronicles chapter 4, actually from chapter 1 to chapter 10, it's just genealogy. It's like, those obituaries and funeral announcements. On and on and on and on. But then it talks about the man called Jabez who was more honorable than any of his brothers. His mom named him Jabez because his birth had been so painful. Jabez. Jabez meant pain. So everywhere you go and it's like Jabez, hi Jabez, you're like, hi pain, hi pain. Not only had he packed in pain, he had been packed in pain by someone else. It was not his fault. But everywhere he showed up, people would just unpack a whole story of, yeah, by the way, this guy, his mother went through a very traumatic birth. He killed his mother. What if the mother died from it? We don't know what happened, but we just know that he was named Jabez because his birth had been so painful. And so he was the one who prayed to God of Israel. And I'm praying that this will be your prayer tonight, especially for those of us who are feeling like, I just love the way Rachel is just very honest about even sometimes feeling like it's this generational curse. In terms of what is this pain is from generations before. And many of us in one way or the other, whenever we are having these conversations on emotionally bold woman, we usually talk about, emotional transference that actually happens and transacts through generations. And you know what? It's because in our bloodlines, there are also emotions that are passed on from one generation to another. And they keep on evolving and showing up in different forms and modes. So it's actually possible, that some of the emotional struggles we are experiencing and some of the emotional pains we are going through are generational. One generation was bitter and then it transferred fear to the other generation, and then the other generation started manifesting in insecurity, and then another generation started manifesting. Like, it's just different things happening with different names and different identities. But I just love it that in unpacking, Jabez took responsibility. He was like, yeah, I was packed here, I have been packing here, but I want to take responsibility for my life. And you can imagine in First Chronicles from chapter 1 to chapter 10, it is genealogies, but then he's such a showstopper, you know, in a way the Bible poses to tell his story in First Chronicles chapter 4. So it's this one gave birth to this one gave birth to this one, and this one, and this one. And then they're like, but now Jabez was more honorable than his brother. It's like it starts. And then Jabez he's the one who prayed to God of Israel, oh, that you will bless me and expand my territory. Please be with me in all I do. Keep me from all trouble and pain. And God granted him his request. And then it just goes on nonchalantly, you know? And then this one begot this one. It's like the story moves on. This guy just decided, you know what? I have to unpack. I can't keep on playing victim. I can't keep on blaming my mother. I can't keep on living in these places, because when you think about his life, on the prayers he prayed, maybe he was feeling cursed. Maybe he was experiencing so much limitations in his life. You know, maybe he was feeling alone in everything he was doing. Maybe there was so much pain and trouble in his life. He actually prays head on the places of his pain. And I'm also praying that when we shall be meeting here next week, we shall also do some prayer journal in terms of telling God what I want. Sometimes it's easy to focus on what you don't want in life. You know, I don't want this, and every day you are running away. But have you ever paused and asked yourself, what exactly do I want? What do I really want? How do I want my story to end? How do I want my life to end? What is the vision of my life beyond where I'm stuck right now? And so you're in the parking lot and you've been stuck there for many, many days. But then you're like, if I drive off from here, where am I going? Am I going towards Mombasa? Am I going to Uganda? Am I going, to the airport so that I can fly to Eritrea, or I can fly to London? Like, where are you going from there? If you don't choose your destination, it's possible sometimes we are actually stuck because we don't know what's next. And so we don't have to have all the details for what's next. You can just decide the pictures and the images and the intuitions and the ideas that you need to have to get to the next place. And so what does the unpack journey look like as we start wrapping up this conversation? We have a virtual retreat next week that is on 30th July. And in this space, we shall be doing breathing and mindful reflections next Tuesday. And it's because we want to unpack. I hope you can see that picture of this person who has decided, you know what, we need to move. We need to move. I'm going to get into this car that probably even ran over me, and I'm going to drive this damn car, because I can't keep on staying here and making excuses. And so we're going to have breathing and mindful reflections. We shall also be exploring our pain landscapes to just look at the different places where we're experiencing pain. And at the same time, we shall also be focusing on probably how pain is manifesting in our lives, through our worksheets, and of course, through some prompts that I'll be sharing here so that you can journal a bit. And so we shall be having a group journaling experience where we are together in a virtual room, but everybody is processing their own lives. And we've done a bit of that today. And then we shall also be envisioning our future beyond pain. And the next thing we shall be doing is also creating our emotional toolkit. You need to know how to cope, because you know what? There'll be many parking lots in life. Oh yeah. In another 10 years, in another 20 years, in another 5 years, something else could happen, But then you are of good cheer because I'm equipped. And I love this picture of Proverbs 31:25, where the Bible says about the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31. She's clothed with strength and dignity, and she shall laugh at the days to come. She's prepared. And so she's set. Even the days to come, she knows she will laugh. She knows that no matter what pain she comes across, she will not pack, she will keep driving on. And then, of course, you'll also have an ebook that you will follow through. That ebook will help you journal a bit further, have more reflections, which I'm hoping you'll be able to, to just keep on working through. And then the Nairobi retreat will be on 2nd August. So it will be like 3 days away. So on Wednesday next week, we meet and we have this virtual webinar. We process some stuff. And then on Saturday, we meet again the whole day. We're actually meeting from 9 to 4 p.m. Just doing different activities, different expressions, different experiences. And of course, I'm going to share about that as well in terms of mindful activities and reflections. We shall also be mapping our parking spots. Just look at them in a very practical way. That is why I said we shall be having these placards that will help us tell our story in terms of our parking spots. And then we shall also be having group therapy and debriefing where we shall get into small groups and just have conversations. Because you know what? There's something powerful about sharing your story. Your story has a life of its own. And some of us have never told our story. That is why your story is always a dark, painful place, because nobody else knows about it except you. And of course, if maybe you're not able to come to this retreat, I will definitely encourage you to reach out for those of us who will come in next week, and then book for yourself a coaching session, a therapy session, a coaching session. I'm happy to probably work around timings that will work for you. Of course, it will be at an extra cost, but then it will help you or give you an opportunity to be able to now do this part of debriefing and therapy and to just get to make sense of what's happening in your life and space. And then we shall also be having movement and unburdening in terms of rituals and activities we shall do to unburden ourselves in a practical way and to just do some symbolic rituals. And then we shall also be having nourishing meals. So this cost for the 2nd August retreat includes your food in terms of snack. And of course, we shall also have lunch together and probably some chai later. And then, of course, you'll get a physical workbook. In this physical retreat, we shall be having a physical workbook to just help you process stuff. So what does it look like? We have a flash sale that is running tonight only. And so virtually, if you want to only attend the virtual event, it is $2,000 tonight. And then from there, it will be $20. That is until next week. So $20 is about $2,500. So if you book, and of course, you make your reservation, I hope we have the sign up link. And if not, of course, you're going to share it here so that you can be able to book for yourself. And I will encourage you probably, even if you are maybe not sure right now, not in terms of not sure, because I believe you will sign up because you have an intention of coming along. But for example, maybe you don't have money to pay right now. I will still encourage you, please make sure you sign up tonight so that you are booking for yourself a slot to be able to say, I will come. And so I'm going to share the link on the chat right now, and then you'll just sign yourself up. Those of us who had not signed up, if you had signed up, then I will encourage you to make the payment because this offer is only valid tonight. And so what this will mean, you will be able to join us next week. And of course, going through that whole bit of processing and of course, get your workbook to also work through the places where you need to probably get things going. And then once you do that, we will then be able to have the physical event, which will be happening on 2nd, which is next Saturday. And of course, even for that, I will still encourage you, sign up tonight. If probably you know that you're available on 2nd August and you love to come, sign up so that someone will reach out to you from our team. And then they will be able to share with you, like in terms of probably more details and everything. If you need probably the payment details and everything. Oh, Gladys, I can see Gladys has already shared the form. Yeah, please sign yourself up.
Oops, we have lost you.
Have you lost me? Am I still here or not
Oh,
here?
you're back. You're back.
Am I back? Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. All right. Okay, thank you, Gladys. Thank you for always keeping me in check. And so this is a flash sale. Like I've said, it's only valid for tonight. So if you sign up tonight, then you have an opportunity to claim this offer. And this offer is only valid until midnight. So from tomorrow, normal rates apply. So if you want to come for the physical event only, maybe for some reason you're not available to join the virtual one, then tonight you can pay $5,000 to attend the physical event. And if you want to attend both events, so you can see you'll actually get a discount so that you, instead of paying 7,000, you will pay 6,000 tonight. And then you can be able to attend the virtual event and the physical event. So sign up on the link that Gladys has shared, and then it will be easier for us to reach out to you. There's the last slot in terms of when you're signing up on the form, there's that part that we ask you whether there's anything that you'll want us to consider when you're coming for the retreat. For example, if the physical retreat, you have diet restrictions, probably mobility challenge, like whatever it is, just let us know on that slot, and then we can probably make it more convenient and accessible for you, even as we plan the logistics. And so this offer is valid until midnight. And of course, after that, we go back to the normal rate. So in terms of the USD, $20 is 2,500. Physical, it will be 6,500 to attend the physical event only. And of course, for both, it will be 7,500 if you want to attend both, if you pay after tomorrow. after tonight. And I've said the offer is valid up to midnight. I will encourage you to take the screenshot of this pay bill details. And those of us who are probably joining in and you're from other countries, then we'll definitely get back to you. As soon as you've signed up, it will be easier to reach out to you and advise you on how you'll be able to make your payment. And so we only have 10 slots for both events. We'll be having 10 slots next week, and of course also for the physical events. And it's because we want to give it an intimate experience. Like I've said, with a conversation, we want to go all in. We want to also get some time to share. So having a small group, an intimate experience is actually what we are aiming for. So we have 10 slots, and I'll encourage you, book your deadline now. Book your slot now because the deadline is Friday. So this Friday, we are closing the registration, and then we shall start doing the briefing for the events and for both events. So please make sure you've booked your slot. And next weekend is when we shall be, next Wednesday, like a time like now from 8 to 10 p.m., we shall be having the virtual retreat. And then, of course, after that, we shall be having the physical retreat next Saturday. And so what you need to do is pay. If you make your payments in terms of you signed up and then you make your payment for the retreat, please WhatsApp the confirmation to this number. I think this number has been reaching out to us, or the other Airtel number that maybe texted you the link for those of us who signed up. Make the payment and then send that confirmation so that you can be able to redeem your offer, to just say, Paps, I already lifted up my hand for this one. I'm claiming my offer. And like I've said, the deadline for tonight is the deadline for the offer that we have. And then after that, we go back to normal prices. So for those of us who've never met me before, my name is Paps Wanyogi. I'm an award-winning coach and confidence and wellness coach, and also an award-winning author of 2 books. I've done Reconfidence, Get Your Ball Back, and Leading Generations, which is about mentoring 21st century preteens and teens in Africa. And of course, I'm also psychologist. That is actually how I started out in 2007. I'm a cross-generational psychologist. And so on Saturday, I have this pretty girl who is 8 years old that I see. And on Thursdays, there's this 64-year-old amazing lady that I also meet for therapy sessions. And so my clients range, from all spectrums. And of course, it's been such a joy to just see God transform lives through the work that I do. So I've been a cross-generational psychologist with over 20 years experience working with urban families. And of course, we also have programs for wellness in corporates in Africa. And of course, like I mentioned, the coachcation that I had gone to last month was actually related to work, but doing it in corporate spaces where we are encouraging organizations to focus on wellness. And my coaching sweet spots are an area of purpose, clarity, and alignment to just help people find sync in who they are and what they do. And then number 2 is emotional healing and wellness, to just make sure abundance is flowing through you and you're just experiencing that life and you're showing up in life with exuberance and excitement, and your life is meaningful and impactful. And of course, inner confidence, where I've blown up, I've made mistakes, but guess what? I'm still showing up. That is actually the posture I have in my own life, and I desire for everyone to also embody in terms of that inner confidence where I live unapologetically. And then in terms of my track records, I was actually counting today. I always update this number. I have had 15,748 hours of counseling, coaching, and still counting. So this is how much, or probably times I've had with, I would actually comfortably say probably thousands of clients almost, just because I've also done a lot of group coaching sessions, even in organizations. And over 10,000 families have been impacted in 14 years, over 5,000 women who've done our programs and sessions and webinars in 8 years, and over 30 nations that we've reached and impacted in 7 years, over 20 corporates that we've reached out and done programs in 3 years. And of course, you're also my track record. Thanks for being here tonight. Such a joy. So like I've said, the offer is valid up to midnight, and for the sake of repeat, this is the flash sale we are doing tonight. If you want to take the whole journey of Don't Park in That Pain, we have a retreat that is coming up virtually next week, Wednesday. Please sign up. And then we also have another retreat that will be physical in Nairobi. That is on Saturday of 2nd August. And it's a whole day event, whole day affair where we just want to heal and chill the whole day from 9 to 4 p.m. And so I'll encourage you to also sign up for that. So the virtual deal tonight, we are closing it at 2,000. And then from tomorrow, it will be 2,500. And of course, also on the physical, tonight is 5,000. And then, of course, in terms of dollars, it will be 6,500 after tonight. And then both events are 7,500. Or if you take advantage of tonight's offer, then you will pay 6,000. And of course, for those of us who are probably not from Kenya, maybe you'll want to join the virtual event and you want to take advantage of this offer, just go to your currency and just put this like 2,000 shillings, and then you see what it translates in terms of dollars or your currency. You can just keep on converting back and forth, and then we'll definitely be reaching out to you with payment details for those of us who are not in Kenya. I hope this was a worth it night, and I'm definitely looking forward to journey with you next Wednesday as we unpack. And of course, also the other next Saturday, when we shall be having the ultimate session. And I was explaining earlier on, for those of us who are here and you're like, perhaps, why can't you have something, a retreat for ladies who are not in Nairobi and they're probably not also in Kenya? Why can't you do this? And of course, I was saying one of the things is when we shall be meeting for this retreat, it's very experiential in terms of physical presence. It requires you to be there in terms of us walking on the grass together, lying down, facing up, breathing together, getting into small groups, telling our stories around the circle. Like it's a very engaging kind of an event. And there are some bits of that event that you're not able to simulate online, like in terms of the experiential part of it. Even the stone, like there's one called the Stone of My Burdens that we shall be doing during the retreat. And so I would encourage you probably, please organize something also on your community. I'm happy to come. Gather around a group of ladies and probably simulate this retreat. It will be easier to do it that way. Of course, we'll also encourage you to come to Nairobi. This is not the end of it. Of course, we also have Healing from Betrayal Trauma Retreat, which shall be coming later in the year. It will be in October. And so I will also probably, for those of us who are feeling like maybe this is a short notice, I will encourage you to join that one. But it definitely is different from this one. One of the things is that we rarely repeat our retreats because we usually feel like it's an inspiration for something we are doing. And then next year we shall be having more retreats. So we may not be able to replay this experience. And so I'll really encourage you to take advantage of this, take advantage of this offer, and of course, take advantage of this opportunity. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to see you next week. So Beth is asking, what if I don't have the cash right now? I will encourage you, sign up and then probably indicate when you're planning to make your payments. That will be easier for our team. But remember, the deadline for payment and registration is this week, Friday. So if by this week, Friday, nothing has happened on your end, then unfortunately you will miss out on the spot. Remember, we only have 10 slots. And I think so far we already have 4 ladies who have paid. And then we have quite a number who have signed up. I think that we had around 15, yeah. We had 15 initially who had already signed up for the paid events. And so payments is now it's the basis of first come, first served. But you already have 4 ladies who have paid. They have locked in the engagement for the physical and also the virtual retreat. So I'll encourage you, make it work. I usually say it's about how desperate am I for my healing and what am I willing to do. And honestly, for those of us who have attended retreats, the retreats that we are doing, especially this year, are very, very low cost. And probably in future, these retreats will also change because we're also working on partnerships and upscaling many things that we are doing. So probably this is one of the cheapest retreats that you'll ever attend in the confidence in terms of the retreats that we are running. So I'd encourage you, take advantage of this, own it up, just feel like this is the investment I'm making on myself because you are the most important asset in your life. It's just the same way if probably I was unwell, I will spend all this money on medication to get better. And that is the same thing I'm doing. I want to get emotionally well. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get better. And of course, I've encouraged you. Gladys has already shared the link. Maybe she can reshare it again. Sign up on that link, and just probably say, perhaps I am planning to pay by Thursday. We are planning to pay by Friday. And then, our admin will be reaching out to us, just check on us and, of course, allow us to probably have further conversations. Otherwise, that is it for tonight. It is 9:43. Thank you for your patience. I can see we are all here. I wanted to share what is your highlight from this session. What is your highlight from this session? If you want to unmute and share, or if probably you want to type it on the chat, what is your highlight from tonight's session? As you go to bed, what are you taking home with you in terms of don't pack in that pain? Do you feel like the conversation has started warming up your heart? into places where you need to start driving off. Maybe you need to switch on the engine first. Even if you stay in the parking lot, switch on the engine first so that your car can know you're getting serious. And then, of course, some of us, maybe we are reversing. Some of us are probably unpacking and maybe you started driving and leaving the parking lot. And some of us probably need to invite a mechanic, to just come and check out your car because it's been stalled for too long. Whatever it is, I love saying there's no shame in healing. There's no shame. There's nothing to be ashamed of in your healing journey. It is your journey. Everybody is healing from something, by the way. And so there's no shame. Probably your journey is a journey of healing, and probably there are things which are not perfect. It's fine. We are owning up our journey and owning up our mess. And of course, I'll be sharing my story next week so that you can also learn how I've also unpacked, from my pain, because I've also gone through so much pain. Things are not perfect in my life. They have never been, and probably even now they are not. And there's nothing to be ashamed of in terms of this journey of don't park in that pain. Is getting on the roadside and, just keep on driving off. And for those of us who joined later, I was giving that scenario of the problem with the parking lot is that everybody assumes you are fine because you're parked within the lines. You look like you know what you're doing. But many of us are actually stuck. Even the person who is parked next to you and next to you and next to you. Sometimes we are all stuck. And that is why we can't unstuck each other. And by having this conversation and getting intentionally through these conversations and activities and reflections we shall be doing in the next 2 sessions, part of you just owning up your own journey and saying, you know what, this is about me. And I am the one who wants to get unstuck. And I am willing to do whatever it takes. And so that is my encouragement for you tonight. Rachel has already shared it. Rachel today is the A student. She's saying, thank you for the wonderful session. May our good Lord replenish you. And her highlight is stand up, carry your mat and go. Absolutely. That is a powerful one, the way you've put it, Rachel. And it was Jesus encouraging that lady to take responsibility for her life. We cannot keep on throwing pity parties anymore. I want to own up. I want to take responsibility for my life. I want to get on the driver's seat. I want to get out of the damn bus and drive it. That is actually the attitude that I feel is being inspired through this process of don't park in that pain. And then Margaret, rise the expectations, getting used to the disability. It's wonderful. Thank you, Margaret. Yeah, we cannot get used to the disability. We refuse to live in dysfunction and normalize them. We refuse to normalize dysfunctions in our lives. Just like, no, it may be normal for others, but not for me, because we are not going to the same direction. Everybody in the parking lot came from different directions. They are going to different directions. They have different stories. That is why we can't even encourage each other on the parking lot in terms of, no, let's stay here. I mean, I may be having, small children in my car. Some of us are carrying people who are elderly and they are sick. Some of us are carrying people who are suffering. And if I don't unpack, then those people are also suffering with me. Those people's destinies are also stalled with me. So I love that part of don't get used to the disability. Don't normalize being on the parking lot. And I was just saying, it's easier when your car breaks down on the roadside. At least people will be concerned. But when you're on the parking lot, you look okay. They're like, yeah, by this, she really parks well. She even knows how to do combat parking. But you are stuck. That is the problem. And then Gladys says, my take home, I must not die where I parked. Whatever it takes, I'm owning up the journey. Thank you, Coach Paps. Absolutely, Gladys. And thank you so much for always being a champion in just supporting the webinars. And of course, just the admin bit. I love your summaries, the way you just share the points in succinct way, really celebrating you. And then Beth said, nobody's coming to save me. It's my responsibility. Absolutely. So long as you're in the parking lot, everybody assumes you're fine. And I've talked about functional trauma, functional depression, where you're able to function and people assume, oh, but she won an award. Oh, but she got married. Oh, but, she bought a car, she bought a house, It's just that part of remembering nobody is coming to save me. It's my responsibility. And I want to own it up. I want to rise up, pick up my mat and walk. And that is what we shall be doing practically in the next 2 events that we shall be having next week. Oh, this is very encouraging. I am glad there are some take homes here. Let me read the last one. I don't know whether there's anyone who wanted to share physically in terms of, okay, there's nothing like physically. This is a virtual meeting. Someone wanted to unmute and share. That is what I meant to say. Mwende is saying unpacking has to be now or never for my own good and even for my generation. Yeah. But the story of Terara was such a hit in terms of, when you're packing, your generations are packing alongside with you. You are slowing down the future people who will come. They will still have to deal with pain. They'll have to deal with dysfunctions. They will have delayed destinies. What if Isaac was probably born earlier? Maybe he would have been born earlier if Abraham was in the right place, doing the right thing. But then there were delays along the way because Terah was delayed. And then Mwende has already shared burial and packing may look scary, but I have to do it. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think probably to just top it up on Beryl's thought process, you are never alone. You are never alone. That is one of the things I always love for women to experience whenever they join any retreats we have. God is with you. God is unpacking with you. God is healing you even as you discover those places you are stuck. As we shall be doing the journals next week and during the physical retreats, we also take it to the Lord. We allow him to unburden us. We allow him to heal us. And so don't feel like it's up to me. No, it's also up to God. And I just love the way David says in Psalms 23, though I walk through the valleys with the shadows of death, I will fear no evil because you are with me. And also that promise of I will never leave you nor forsake you. Just remember that you are not alone even in your healing journey. It's scary. You have to do it and you're not doing it alone. You're also not doing it in your own strength. God is your support system. God is there to journey with you and to help you. And he's there for you, even to just encourage you and give you hope in those dark places. And of course, also to show you the way in terms of this is the way walking it thereof. And also to restore you and to refresh your soul. Do you know, sometimes I usually think there are some things we've gone through that we will never heal from. And it's because it's not possible to heal in human standards, but it's possible for you to be fully restored from. Where those things do not define you, they do not limit you, they do not stop you. Actually, you look at them with gratitude because they are alongside you. I look at myself as a suicidal teenager 26 years ago, and I just think, I'm so glad that God has journeyed with me to live for the past, right now it's how many years? It's 25, it's 26, it will be 26 this year. Because I was a 15-year-old suicidal girl on 27th December 1999. I had given up on life. And so what happens? I will never not be that girl, but I'm so amazed at what God has done with that girl. In a way, I live my life so gratefully and so amazed at what God can do with a suicidal girl. So it's just that part of, I never get over that part of I was that, or probably I was struggling with that. I'm just amazed at how much God can do with me despite of who I was in that season of life. Of course, I've gone through so many challenges even after that. And I'm ever so amazed at how much God loves me, how much he cares for me, how much he uses me, how much he journeys with me. For me, that is always a blessing. It's just, I just feel like I live my life so gratefully, especially in those great moments of destiny. I'm launching a book, I'm on BBC, I'm traveling to other nations. Every time I am in those places, I'm sitting in that aeroplane, I'm just like, except for your mercies, I don't deserve to be here. Except for your mercies, I know I wouldn't be this person that I am. Except for your mercies, I was not even a brilliant child, brilliant enough to write a book. I really used to flop in my grades. Sometimes even the ideas I have and the programs I do, I just know it's an inspiration from God. And so what that does, it helps me to live more gratefully because I know it is by the grace of God. I just remind myself, perhaps without God, you are that 15-year-old who would have died that night. But it's by the grace and the mercies of God that you've come this far. And so I'll just encourage you to also remember, I will not get over this in my own strength. It is by the grace of God. All right, ladies, seems like we need to cap it there. Otherwise, I'll keep on going on and on because I'm really enjoying your company. Yeah, have a very, very good night. And just know that you are loved, you are cared for. And just know that God is here for you. Even as we have these conversations beyond the workbooks, beyond the experiences, beyond the conversations, God is ultimately the one who is most concerned with your healing. But all these are his tools to heal you. And so trust him even to provide for you. If you're feeling like this is a stretch for me, trust God. He's the one who is interested in your healing and is the one who brought you into this webinar tonight. Otherwise, God bless you. Lots of love. Have a very good night and don't pack in that pain. Good night, ladies. We can say our goodbyes. Good night. God bless you.
Good night,
Good
all.
night.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good
Crystal.
night.
God bless you.
Wednesday.